I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Smith, we're going to call the meeting to order. Thank you. All right, this meeting is being held in the council chambers and is open for public attendance and participation. Can I have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Silman.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Brookman. Commissioner Knorr.
Here.
Commissioner Sandu.
Here.
Commissioner Gill.
Here.
Commissioner Dale.
Here.
Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
And we'll note that Commissioner Brookman did have an excused absence tonight. So we're going to go with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and Commissioner Dale will lead us.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be heard, not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinion of a group. So written requests, do we have any written requests or comments from the floor? No. Okay. Members of the public may again address the Planning Commission on items of interest that are within the city's jurisdictions. Individuals addressing general comments are encouraged to limit their statements to 3 minutes, and no comments from the public, correct? Do we have any?
I don't have any written comments. No.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go on to the election of the 2024 Planning Commission Chairperson, Vice Chairperson. I do want to let you know that Vice Chairman Brookman's not here tonight. He has expressed interest. He'd like to move to this, but he'd like to wait a year to the chairman. I'm more than willing to do one more year with him as vice chair, up to you, but you certainly can open it up for nominations to the chair. Well, it'd actually be the vice chair, to be honest. So whatever you'd like to do. So with that, do we need a motion to move forward for leave vice chair as Stacy for one more year? I'll chair for one more year. Okay. Go ahead.
Motion for, are we motioning for that or just voting?
Yes. We're going to make a motion.
Okay, motion for Commissioner Brookman to remain vice chair and for Chairperson
Silman.
Chairperson, right? To remain chairperson for another year.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I will second that.
Okay. Do you want a roll call vote, or do we want to just all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. I saw your head shaking, so I didn't know. Hey, one more year. All right. Good, Ashley. I always look to Ashley for, am I okay, Ashley? All right. Well, thanks for the, yeah, thanks. But we have up and comers, so I'm excited about that. Okay, so we don't need to switch seats, as my note says. So planning commissioners, is there any interest in modifying the agenda? Not the agenda? Okay. We need a vote to approve the agenda, please. So moved.
I motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now we're going to go on to the approval of minutes from December 13th, 2023. Commissioners, is there any interest in modifying the minutes? Did you have anything? No? Okay. Let's do a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from December 13th, 2023.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Hey, we're ready for business items.
So before we jump into business, I want to just make sure we circle.
Did I miss something?
Written requests and any public comment from items, from the public for items
Not
on the agenda.
Not on the agenda. I'm sorry. Not on the agenda. Is there anybody that wants to speak about something not on the agenda? Okay, we're still good. Okay, all right. Okay, so tentative subdivision map, TSM 23-02, West Railroad Village and an associated development agreement, DA, located on the west side of Railroad Avenue, approximately 200 feet south of the intersection of Railroad Avenue and Bogue Road. And we have Deputy Director of Development Services, Doug Libby, to give us a presentation.
Chair Silman, thank you and congratulations on another year's chair. Okay, the first item here, consideration of tentative subdivision map 2302 and the development agreement for West Railroad Village subdivision. This is a 4.8 acre site. It's located on the west side of Railroad Avenue, about 200 feet south of Bogue Road. Here is our approved Bogue Stewart master plan, the land use plan. And you can see within Bogue Stewart where the project site's located. It has a specific plan designation of low, medium density residential and has a zoning of R2. Now, the Bogue Stewart plan, go over a few quick numbers. It's a 741.5 acre master plan. It provides for up to 2,500 dwelling units and almost 1.3 million square feet of commercial, employment, and public uses. A little background, our general plan dates back to 2004. In 2020, the City Council approved the Bogue Stewart master plan. And about a year and a half later, annexation of this project site into Yuba City was completed. So the map that's proposed, as I said, 4.8 acres, it proposes to divide property into 21 duplex residential lots and 6 single-family lots. Now, the single-family lots are lots 2, 3, and 8 in Village 2, and in Village 1, 11, 15, and 16. So a total of 48 new residences. The proposed density is 10 dwelling units per acre, which is right in the middle of the density range that the specific plan provides for, which is a minimum of 6 to a maximum of 14 dwelling units per acre is what's allowed. So the development agreement. You've seen these in a number of recent projects. Now, a development agreement has to have something to benefit the city, and in this case, it's an additional impact fee for neighborhood parks in the amount of $2,300 for each multiple family dwelling unit and $3,200 for each single family unit. For the developer, they're asking for a longer term on the map, so 10 years is what they're asking for. Now, I will note that I had a brief conversation yesterday with Commissioner Gill, and she has a very keen eye, and she brought to my attention, we have in the agreement, the numeral 10 is written, but it's written out 15. So I need to go back and change that before we take that to City Council. So it will be a 10-year term on the map. So compatibility with neighboring uses. The project is located, if you drive out there now looking south, it's mostly agricultural ranchette-style homes within the Bogue Stewart master plan. However, this area with the approved plan is intended to urbanize. And so there are no ag or urban interface buffers required. The master plan does include specific development and design standards. There are provisions where the Development Services Director can make minor modifications to the standards, as long as the resulting neighborhood's in substantial conformance with the overall intent of the ordinance. So you will see some differences. So there's a lot of text here, so I apologize for that. But what we have is for lots less than 3,000 square feet and then lots that are 3,000 square feet or greater, you'll see that the proposed to increase front yard setback, proposed to increase side yard setbacks with exceptions for fireplace and media centers. You can reduce it down to 3 feet. And then for street side yard corner lots, proposing 18.5 foot minimum distances for garage driveways, and that's for both. The 18.5-foot depth on garage driveways is similar. You saw that last year on a project you considered on West Walton subdivision is the one that we actually considered it at last year. So traffic and streets. The existing roadway system was constructed years ago to serve the needs of a rural community. Drive out there, it looks like it's a pretty rural road. Now the master plan shows how roadways will be improved over time. Projects must pay a fair share cost of those improvements that will be borne by all Bogue Stewart master plan related development, and a fair share percentage still needs to be determined for that. Affordable housing. Yuba City has not adopted what's called an inclusionary housing ordinance, and most jurisdictions have not. Now, the Bogue Stewart Master Plan identifies this property as a potential site for affordable housing, but it's not required. The proposed project with a density of approximately 10 units to the acre is anticipated to be more affordable than the typical detached single-family residential development. Services. All city services will be provided to this property. Now, the Bogue Stewart Master Plan identifies backbone infrastructure for city water, sewer, and stormwater. These systems will be developed in phases over time. Development will not be allowed to commence until these services are in place. But due to a number of economic conditions, it's just hard to, can't give you a firm schedule of when the services will actually be complete. But it's something that is being worked on. And the next item on your agenda will kind of go into that, some of those efforts more. So regarding environmental review. So for the Bogue Stewart Master Plan, an environmental impact report was certified. However, project level analysis, what I mean by that is being able to just go forth and develop, was completed for only portions of the plan, basically the proponents of the plan, but not the entire plan area. This project site was not included in having project level CEQA analysis. So we had to do an additional review. So that's basically preparing an initial study where a mitigated negative declaration is proposed. You will see, looking through the initial study, that the mitigation measures, by and large, are carrying forward the pertinent mitigation measures from the master plan into this project specific. Map findings. In order for the commission to act or to make recommendations, we must justify our actions, and that's through findings. And the long list here comes out of the State Subdivision Map Act as well as the Municipal Code. And in order to deny a project, you need to be able to make one of these findings. With the adopted master plan for Bogue Stewart, a project which is consistent with it, complying with the proposed project conditions and the mitigation measures, we don't think that those findings can be made. And so we've reflected that in the proposed resolutions before you. So staff's recommendation: conduct a public hearing, make the necessary findings, to adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission approving Environmental Assessment 2307, adopting a mitigated neg deck, subject to the conditions and mitigation measures, contingently approving the subdivision map, West Railroad Village, for 21 duplex residential lots, 6 single-family residential lots for 48 total residences on 4.8 acres located on the west side of Railroad Avenue, 200 feet south of the intersection of Railroad Avenue and Bogue Road, and adopt a resolution recommending the City Council approve the environmental assessment as well as the adopting an uncodified ordinance for the development agreement on the property. And that will conclude my comments. Both myself, the director, Ben Moody, as well as the project engineer, Sean Menard, are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have any questions to ask for staff?
More of a general comment. We've had a lot of projects come through when you have potential 2-story structures butting up to existing like single-story homes. And one of the ways to mitigate the feeling of still having your space is either not having windows or having windows higher, higher elevation. And I was just thinking, not having windows, and I'm not saying this project, again, this is a general comment, but have we ever thought about bringing up to developers maybe privacy glass instead of having windows at a height that's not normal? To still allow natural light in. It's just from an aesthetic, I'm in construction, so I'm thinking about if I were buying a new home, it would bother me to have this small window 6 feet up when you could have a nice big privacy glass, which nowadays privacy glass comes in many forms. Just anyway, throwing that out there for future projects, maybe that's another option.
So I think that the city would be open to that. I think we should be clear that that requirement is actually not an ordinance requirement. It's something that that residents periodically have requested. The city has generally been agreeable to. In fact, for this project, that would be project condition number 6.
Yeah.
Where that's proposed. Now, I think where the pushback could come from obscured glass is, I remember in a different time, a different project, where that was brought up, and the neighbors just didn't believe that they wanted complete privacy, and how that was achieved was by putting the windows 6 foot high.
Okay.
So,
Just throwing it out there, because it's on a lot of these proposals and just,
we hear you.
yeah, thanks.
All right, any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak for or again? You want to speak? Well, could you go up to the mic, and I need to get your name and your address, please? Thank you.
Okay, my name is James Carciolo. I live at 1121 Bogue Road. I live directly across the street from where this development is going to go. Now, my problem is I've lived there almost over 30 years now, and the traffic is hellacious now. For me to get out of my driveway sometimes takes me 15 minutes because of the traffic from down below on Garden Highway coming up to 99. And I'll tell you one that's worse now. Coming off of 99 around 5:15 at night. As a matter of fact, tonight, I look and I'm sitting there waiting, and the line is atrocious. It actually bogs from Railroad all the way to 99. What impact is this going to cause? More traffic for me or what? I don't understand the whole situation of where the inlets are for the housing development. What are they going to do to the roadway? Because when you get further down on Bogue, past Columbia, and the house is across, so that can't be widened. The road can't be widened. That's almost impossible unless you get from Columbia up. Then it can be, because there's nothing but orchard there. But there's still homes down from Railroad to Columbia on that left-hand side.
Okay.
But what is the impact to me? Because it's atrocious right now. And not only that, I've called to find out about truck traffic on Bogue Road. They told me that that road has been for truck traffic for years and years, always. That's a lie.
Okay.
Because I've lived there 30 years, and the last 5 years is the trucks are coming. And I notice now on Garden Highway, there's a lot of truck park areas. They come in. My driveway's cracked out. The trucks, if they're empty trailers, 9, 10 o'clock at night, they're coming down. They hobble on that road and knock the hell out of my house.
Okay.
Windows
Well,
rattle everything.
Thank you. Why don't we, Mr. Libby, do you want to address that, or Ben? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't want to have to cut you off at that 3 minutes, so. All right.
Yeah, I guess just high level, the Bogue Sewer Master Plan's been in the works since 2014. And so it's a comprehensive, specific plan that looks at the development, the land use, the traffic, and there's a full-blown environmental impact report and mitigations put in place for what that area is supposed to grow and look like. And so Bogue Road is ultimately supposed to be built to a 4-lane road, which is the next item actually that talks about the design and construction of Bogue Road from Railroad 299. With this specific development, it's in line, the zoning and the density is in line with the plan, as to be what's built. And so there's an inlet that shows how it's built, and then there's houses that will be built, but it's all in line with that plan. They pay their mitigations, they build their side of the road, and then that future item is talking about the construction of Bogue Road, and that's really how it works. And Bogue Road, it's planned for an arterial. And that's really what it is, and that's how it's been processed. As Bogue Road is ultimately a 4-lane road through the city of Yuba City with trucks. It's identified as a STA truck, a terminal access route, and I would agree, there has been, in the M1 zoning along Garden Highway, there has been recent truck yards built in that Epley Drive and along Garden Highway, which is probably adding to the truck traffic. But ultimately, what we're looking for and what we want to build with this new project is a center turn lane on Bogue Road, and then 2 lanes going eastbound, with 1 lane going westbound. And we could get into the details and the specific of Bogue Road with the next item, or I'm happy to, at whatever level. But what's being built is proposed in the plan that's had the full traffic study, EIR, as far as what we're proposing to build.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to talk? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. My name is Louis Betancourt, and I live just south of the proposed subdivision.
What's your address,
Johanny?
sir? I'm sorry. Your address?
It's 2125 Railroad Avenue. I'm right across from the PG&E substation.
Thank you. Okay.
And I downloaded the report from your website, so I'm assuming that's the most recent report.
Okay.
And your introduction or description of this project doesn't agree with your subdivision map. I don't know, can we show the introduction section of the report? Are you able to go to that page, page 1? I mean, I read the whole report, and it's something out there just didn't seem right, and until I looked at this and looked at the introduction.
So what specifically are you referencing?
What you're describing in your introduction is not what you're showing us here.
Can you be more specific?
But we need to look at the introduction because it doesn't agree with this map.
Are we talking the website you're saying that was on the website versus what we're seeing
The
here?
introduction of this subdivision said there's going to be a loop road with 2 entrances off Railroad Avenue. Now show me the 2 entrances. There's only 1. There is no loop road. You're stubbing off those roads right into Johanny's property, so unless Johanny has an agreement with this property owner that they're going to continue those 2 roads into that property, then the circulation will work. But right now your circulation won't work, and looking at city codes for fire and emergency access, if you go down those 2 roads, how's a fire truck going to turn? They can't turn at the end of those 2 roads, and I'm assuming that's too far down the road there for a fire truck to put in reverse and get out of there.
Okay, let's give Mr. Libby a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, so on page, I think it's the second page of the staff report, there is an erroneous statement in there regarding the loop street. So yes, that is in there, and I apologize for that. So yes, we do, that is an error. The project has been reviewed by fire, and the single access with the number of lots proposed is consistent with city standards. The subdivision is proposed to be when the property to the south in the future, unknown time, develops, then the 2 roads that are shown on the map will be extended further to the south.
Okay, if they're going to be extended, you need to show those as dashed lines. I mean, right now to me, that just stubs off. And with 35 and a half years of transportation design experience, I look at that and That won't work.
So the roads, yes, currently they're proposed to stop here. There is one access onto Railroad. But for the number of lots proposed, that is not a problem and not inconsistent with city requirements.
I'm sorry, but out of emergency access, I would have to look at the city code for emergency access for your fire and ambulance and police. When you stub off a road like that, usually you just see maybe one house at that stub, but not 6 homes.
Yeah, it's the city fire marshal has reviewed the application.
But you're not, it's not written in the introduction. What you have in the introduction is wrong.
Right, and he stated that he made the error, and
Yes,
he'll
and
make
I
sure that
acknowledge
gets
that.
changed.
And I can see what was done here, maximizing the lots. If you put another road on the south side, that's gonna take some of those lots away.
Yes,
I mean, if
Okay.
you put the loop road as described in your introduction,
but that's not what is proposed.
okay, well, the report would need to be updated because it's not an agreement. I don't think it could be improved as written.
Okay. All right, thank you for your comment.
The mistake is acknowledged. It does not change any of the conclusions that are reached in the project conditions or the findings. And so it would be staff's opinion that the project can be acted upon this evening.
Okay. Is there any more public comment regarding the okay. Sean Menard?
Hello, my name is Sean Menard with MHM Engineering, and we represent the owner of the property. We're the design engineers for the tentative map. We worked with the city staff, and we're okay with all the conditions of approval. And we acknowledge your question. That's come up on other projects about the privacy glass, and we weren't successful, for a better term. And the compromise was what you see as a condition on this one and other maps you've seen. So we're always looking for other opportunities. There's some comments made, hey, if you put privacy glass in, as soon as the house has built 5 years down the road, person takes out the privacy glass, puts a regular window in there. So I understand both sides. So the compromise was the higher windows. So at least you need some sunlight. So, but if you have any questions about the design or the layout, we've laid out, we were part of the whole Bogue Stewart master plan, and we actually laid out, lotted the whole entire area. Granted, the property owner to the south is not a party to at this time, but you have to provide the connectivity in the future. Otherwise, you'll have all these little individual blocks of neighborhoods. And so working with planning and other staff, they always want stubbed roads. One of the conditions is so people don't just go into those orchards. There'll be a condition to put a barricade and a chain link fence to go from fence to fence, prevent access into that landowner's property. So all those are in the conditions, and we've looked through them, and we're acceptable to all the conditions. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
So walk me through the concern of getting in and out. So there's 48 lots, and there's access off of Bogue Road, right, to go into the property.
You're talking about dwelling units?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I guess what the concern would be is that, if there's a fire, how are they going to get out? So the typical city, you're allowed to have cul-de-sacs, and there's a certain length and number of lots. We always work with the fire, and sometimes we have to put temporary turnarounds at the ends of these stub streets, so they can it's not just the fire trucks, it's the garbage trucks, all those
Right.
things have to be able to turn, and that'll be accommodated in our design
Okay.
when it gets presented as a design. We take the tentative map and the conditions and produce a design, and all those things have to be factored in. I don't know if you recall the Chima Ranch project was approved, I forget now, a year and a half ago. We had some sub-streets on that one also, and now we're designing it, and we have to accommodate the ability to make those turning radiuses for the garbage trucks, fire
Right.
trucks, and all the emergency vehicles.
Okay, because I do know that goes through all the different departments, garbage, the different ones, to make sure that it does accommodate that. So
Yeah.
that was one of my questions.
So we address all those things when we do the
Okay.
design. And then we work with Public Works and other parties at the city to make sure the design is consistent with these, this tentative mapping conditions.
And I guess what I'm hearing too, you're not building out the whole thing right now. You're doing 48 units at this time. Which, what we're
We're
going to
doing this
approve
tentative
tonight,
map.
or
That's
what
on
it's
this
going to be
tentative
on there.
map.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I just want to make sure that's clear, because a lot of times people think there's 200 homes coming tomorrow, and that's really not how
Just to
how
be
it
clear,
is.
there's 27 lots.
Oh, yeah,
And
20.
then, but there's a combination of some are duplexes, some are single-family lots, but there's 27 separate lots, and a few of them are, most of them are duplex.
Right,
So you
sorry.
get 48 dwelling units.
I stand corrected. Okay. Is there any more public, here, any more? Oh, go ahead.
Good afternoon, good evening. James Kasner, 950 Los Bravos Drive, Yuba City. Question I have, that fire marshal approved which design? The one he's talking about that shows a loop, or the one that doesn't have a loop? Which one did they approve?
The map that's before us tonight was the one that's
The
been
one that
reviewed,
shows
yes.
it's blocked off? Okay. The privacy glass, that's not for the people that's living in the two-story. That's for those people that's lived in their houses for 40, 50 years and then suddenly have a housing development crammed down their throat and two people in two-story buildings looking in their windows. It's not for them, it's for the people that's,
No, I understand that, but the people that buy a new house, it's nice to get natural light, that's all.
yeah, well, it's also nice not to have people looking in your windows too.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
My name's Chuck Smith. I live on Stewart Road. Years ago, they built a school down at the end of Stewart Road, Railroad and Stewart Road. And the traffic in the morning and in the afternoon is horrendous. When they build this, what are you gonna do to us? I live on the south side of Stewart Road. I'm not gonna be in the city, but what's the plans for Stewart Road and what's gonna happen there? I'm not happy.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. All right, any more comments or questions, commissioners?
None for me, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go, and I'm looking for a motion from commissioners. Let's take that.
I'll make the motion. I motion to adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Yuba City approving environmental assessment 23-07 by adopting a mitigated negative declaration, subject to the proposed conditions of approval and mitigation measures, and contingently approving TSM 23-02, West Railroad Village subdivision, creating 21 duplex residential lots and 6 single-family residential lots on approximately 4.8 acres, located on the west side of the Railroad Avenue, approximately 200 feet south of the intersection of Railroad Avenue and Bogue Road. Assessor's parcel number 055-240-002. And to adopt a resolution of the Planning Commission of Yuba City recommending the City Council, the City of Yuba City adopt a resolution adopting environmental assessment 23-07 that resulted in a determination of a mitigated negative declaration for tentative subdivision map 23-02 West Railroad Village and approving an uncodified ordinance for a development agreement for TSM 23-02 on approximately 4.8 acres located on the west side of Railroad Avenue, approximately 200 feet south of Bogue Road. Assessor's parcel number 055-240-002.
I second the motion.
Do we need to include the slight word change for 15 to 10 years to be consistent with the rest of the DA agreement?
No, I don't think that's necessary. I acknowledge the change that we will make before it gets carried forward to City Council.
All right, I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Knorr,
Yes.
Commissioner Sandu,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Commissioner Dale,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Chairperson Stillman.
Yes. All right, thank you. And I do appreciate that you came and you spoke. Traffic is going to be an issue forever, so I get it. But we have to vote on what is in front of us, so thank you for coming. You don't have to leave, but I'm just saying thank you for coming. Okay, we're going to go on to consideration of the First Amendment to the Newcomb Ranch Development Agreement within the Bogue Stewart Master Plan area. And I know Commissioner Dale will.
This is the good part.
Okay. Actually, it is actually.
Did it backwards.
This will,
This will clear up a little bit. Why don't you? Yeah. All right.
some of your traffic concerns. Yes.
Before they spend all their money on it.
Way to go, Lonza.
Thank you, Mr. Alonso.
All right. So Commissioner Dale is going to excuse himself because he has a conflict of interest. So, on that note, see, you can go in the back and watch TV. That's what he said. We're good. Okay. Okay, let's move forward on the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so purpose of this item is to consider the First Amendment to the Newcomb Ranch Development Agreement and making a recommendation to City Council. So the area covered by the development agreement is shown on the map on the right side of the screen. A little background: in December 2019, January of 2020, that's when the city approved the Bogue Stewart Master Plan entitlements, certified the EIR, established pre-annexation zoning over a portion of the plan, and approved the Newcomb Ranch small and large lot maps together with the development agreement. In August of 21, Sutter LAFCO completed annexation proceedings for the Newcomb Ranch area. Last year, Newcomb Ranch LLC requested city funding support for the city impact fee eligible items for infrastructure associated with Bogue Road. And then in October of last year, the City Council unanimously initiated amendment to the Newcomb Ranch Development Agreement to implement language relating to financing Bogue Road infrastructure and streamlining the development process. So again, here's the land use map for the Bogue Stewart Master Plan. And if you can see on the screen, it's difficult on my screen, but there is a blue line that comes right around here, goes down to Stewart, over, up to Bogue, and that includes the Newcomb Ranch area. And then we have the commercial area, the office area, low-density residential, the high-density residential. You'll see community park, neighborhood park, and then it says open space. It's a drainage basin here. So Newcomb Ranch is 161 acres of the 741.5 acre Bogue Stewart Master Plan. Now, the tentative subdivision maps of 1406 and 1407, so it kind of gives you an indication of how far back this goes. They've been in the works for a while. They are approved. So the large lot maps creates 12 lots ranging in size from 3.6 to 21 to almost 21 and a half acres in size each. And then 9 of those large lots, comprising 95 acres, were remapped into small lots, meaning subdivision lots, of 423 single-family residential lots. Impacts mitigated by the adopted EIR. And a copy of the approved map is on the screen. So just recapping, development agreements, they are something that's allowed by state law. They address issues that are beyond the typical planning, zoning, and development standards. There's a lot of flexibility. And so each agreement is unique, and so it must be considered on its own terms. So any agreement has deal points. So you're going to have some city obligations and developer obligations. So for the city obligations, what's proposed is the city will commit $13 million to impact fee eligible roads. $9 million for roads and $4 million for wastewater. And what we're talking about is Bogue Road widening, Highway 99 to Railroad Avenue, Highway 99 Bogue Road intersection improvements, and then the needed wastewater trunk line extension to serve the project. Also in the city obligations section is the city agreeing to ministerial, and what we mean by that is staff level approval of certain future development applications. That includes a tentative parcel map for commercial and office zoned land. So we're talking about these areas right here on the north side. Development plans for, you think of it as design review for commercial and office park zoned land. And then development plans for the high density residential projects. And high density again would be this area right here. This is not entirely unique. The city has in its current zoning code, if you are within the central city specific plan, development plans are processed at the staff level. So this is actually consistent with how we approach that plan. Additional city obligations, city will support the developer's use of the statewide community infrastructure program financing, or SCIP is the abbreviation. Not a big deal, the city's already part of the program. City agrees to review and process substantial conformance map for Newcomb Ranch subdivision. I also don't think that's a big deal because a substantial conformance map means you're not changing the number of lots that were approved. They're making some minor adjustments here and there. It's actually routinely processed at the staff level. So in my opinion, that's just kind of the typical business. City agrees to review and process a new tentative map for Newcomb Ranch project south of Newcomb Ranch Drive. What we're talking about here is this area down here. And all that's saying is that they're going to file a new application. We're going to process it and we're going to bring it forward to you. Really, that's what that says. Developer obligations. They're going to design and construct Phillips Road improvements from Bogue Road to Newcomb Ranch Drive, including wet and dry utilities. So we're talking about the Phillips Road extension from Bogue. So we're talking about Phillips Road extending south into the project, and this would be Newcomb Ranch Drive. $4.3 million. Design and construct detention pond improvements to accommodate the phase 1 improvements. So we're talking about detention pond is located down here, and we're talking about in order to serve this area, kind of the north half of the master plan area. And that has a price tag with it of $3.4 million. And these are current engineer estimates. The developer obligation is to also design and construct the stormwater trunk line from Newcomb Ranch Drive to the detention pond and construction of the outfall from the detention pond to Gill Sizer Slough. So what we're really talking about is connecting from this location down to the pond, and then how to get the water from the pond under Highway 99 over to Gill Sizer Slough. And that has an engineer's estimate of $3.6 million. The developer continues to agree to pay the supplemental neighborhood park fee that we've been talking about. So potential city benefits. Construction of a consistent, fully built out, improved roadway segment. We hear criticism when development applications come in that they're only building half the road. When is the other half of the road going to be built? Well, one of the benefits is this is going to, in this segment from Highway 99 to Railroad, it's going to build out both sides of Highway 99, of Bogue Road if this is approved. Avoiding conflicts and redundant costs associated with sewer line construction. Well, you're installing one sewer line to serve the project. You're not having to go back and retrofit, expand, dealing with it at one shot. Backbone infrastructure put in place for commercial and residential properties within the plan, as well as existing properties located north of Bogue Road. And what that means is that if you have infrastructure there, the properties north of Bogue Road are still in the county, they're unincorporated, And if their septic systems fail, they need to connect to city services, they would at least have that opportunity in the future. Revenue would, obviously, if the plan gets off the ground, you would see increased property taxes and sales taxes, so that's a benefit to the city. It would allow for needed housing for the community. You hear all the time from the state that we're not building enough homes to meet our population needs, and that includes even locally. New commercial area for the South Yuba City area. We're talking again about this area. We always hear about the potential for a grocery store. Well, that could be a site for it. So regarding environmental review, an environmental impact report for the Bogue Stewart Master Plan was certified by the City Council. The Newcomb Ranch area did complete project level environmental analysis, so no further environmental review is needed for subsequent approvals that are consistent with the EIR and consistent with the master plan. The amendments to the development agreement do not propose physical changes to the environment that were not previously analyzed in the EIR. Development resulting from these provisions within the agreement amendment will only occur within the Newcomb Ranch portion of the master plan, and development, including needed infrastructure, will be consistent with the existing adopted plan and zoning code standards. Applicable mitigation measures adopted with the EIR will be implemented on the development as it's being carried out. So no additional environmental review is necessary. As I said in the previous presentation, anything we do must make findings pursuant to state law for development agreements. There are specific findings that must be made. We have reflected those findings in your proposed resolution. So the recommendation, conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution recommending the City Council determine the environmental impacts resulting from the First Amendment to the Newcomb Ranch Development Agreement were fully addressed in the EIR, certified by City Council, and no additional environmental review is necessary, and recommend approval of an uncodified ordinance for the proposed development agreement amendment. Staff is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions for staff?
Oh, before you go, I have one more thing I need to go over. So the development agreement is a draft document. We have presented to you the bullet points, the major deal points, but that doesn't mean that refinements to some of the wording can't occur going forward to the City Council. And so I'm going to go through a quick kind of things that we're still working through with the city attorney on refinements. And what I mean by this is, like, for phase one backbone infrastructure, we're looking at probably trying to tie down the timing clarifications on the developer's obligation to construct, issues pertaining to security, whether it be bonds, cash, or lien per engineer's estimate, easements for detention pond outfall improvements to Gilsizer Slough, make sure the easements are in place before any city obligations are to construct, any insurance and duty to defend and indemnify the city in sections 20 and 21 also applies to backbone infrastructure. Dedication of right-of-way and improvements to the city at no cost to the city, establishing a one-year security warranty for improvements, and on the construction side, developer to be responsible for costs of design stub-out connections for city infrastructure improvements to accommodate subsequent connection by developer. Developer to provide staging area for the city at no cost if needed by city for construction of city obligations under the agreement. Developer not relieved from obligation to acquire encroachment permit for work in the public right-of-way. If more than one contractor is working for the city's in the city's right-of-way, the city's contractor shall have precedence, and the developer still being required to pay all applicable development impact fees. So, wanted to mention that because those are refinements that will probably be incorporated into the agreement, but doesn't change the bullet points that you saw tonight. So, thank you.
Are there any questions to staff? Usually get something, nothing from, okay, all right.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I did have one question. So I believe you were talking about the road expansion from Highway 99 all the way to Railroad. How does it work with those houses? That was my question, because I know with Bridge Street, it took quite a while for the city to acquire the houses. So what would the timing be?
So the city is going to be working to utilize the existing right-of-way that is in that location. And so it's my understanding that there is a 60-foot right-of-way currently in place. And so it's going to allow for, if I understand, Ben will correct me, 2 eastbound lanes and 1 westbound lane as part of the expansion.
Okay.
Yeah, just to follow up, so there's an existing 60-foot right-of-way. It's in Sutter County, so it's not the city's jurisdiction. And so it gets even more complicated trying to do right-of-way acquisition outside of your jurisdiction. And so the design is going to be within the existing right-of-way, a sidewalk on the south, curb and gutter, 2 eastbound lanes, a center turn lane, so that the properties could basically, those homeowners could sit in that center turn lane and turn into their properties. That would then turn into a northbound left once you get to Railroad. And then you would have 1 westbound lane with a little extra room and curb and gutter until the future, until more traffic comes, until the expansion triggers a signal in that location. But that is the plan with this design, is to have sidewalk on the south, curb gutter, 2 eastbound, 1 center turn lane, and 1 westbound lane.
Is there already, sorry, it's been a long time since I've been out there. There's already a sidewalk on the north, correct?
It's not continuous and not in front of those existing homes. And so it's farther to the west, and it has some gaps based on the right-of-way. And so we're, at this time, we're really not, we're focusing on rehabbing the roads of the north side, but we're not changing the ultimate width for that north area.
Okay, and then when they tie into sewer, how does that affect sewer capacity for the residents in the neighborhood? I don't know how that works.
So the sewer is really, this is a master plan sewer. It's meant not only to serve Newcomb Ranch and the Bogue Sewer Master Plan, but it's also oversized to be continued to the west to ultimately serve the Lincoln East area and North Yuba City as it comes, as if the gradient of the city, everything flows from the north to the south, that it starts picking up that Lincoln area, Sanborn area, some of the flows off of Walton that come, ultimately it needs to go under the highway, go west, and then it picks up these lines that are coming from the north to the south to feed into the plant. And so the line and lift station is oversized to pick up, basically a citywide trunk main for sewer. And so, again, those properties are they're in the city's sphere of influence if they're a county property, so to the north and maybe some of the existing right there. If those properties want to connect into city sewer, there is an option because they're in the sphere. It works through a separate agreement that we could work out with them, but it gets a little complicated, and we would have to look at each one. It'd be one thing for a big subdivision to come through and you put a manhole. If there's just one connection coming into a main trunk line, there might have to be some lateral work done first.
Sorry, I have another question. So when they do the road expansion, is that when the city's also going to put that trunk line in? Is that going to be at the same time?
Correct. And so that's really, with the dual, so we have the money through ARPA. We have different sewer money funding that sewer line, and that's one of the key components. We don't want to put the sewer line in and rehab it and build it up and then come back and put the road in, or put the road in and then come dig it up and then put the sewer line in. And so we're putting the projects together is a way to be more efficient.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. Did you want to speak again? I'm open for public comment. Keep going.
Yeah, it's not making sense.
Okay, well,
Okay,
it's okay. Hold on. Sean, gonna make sense for this gentleman, please.
Yeah, makes sense for me, from 99 to Railroad on Bogue, you're gonna have 2 lanes going.
Sir?
Let me
Yeah.
go over
The-
the
Yeah,
situation a little bit more
Recording's not
clearly.
going to pick you up. So we
Okay,
need to
yeah,
be able
sir,
to-
let's, when he's done, and if you still have a question, we just have to get it for the recording. That's why we have to have you up there. Thanks.
And I'm Sean Menard with MHM, and I represent the owners of this property. We've been working on this project since 2013. As Ben said, we've gone through a lot of steps to get to this point. And this amended DA gets us to hopefully the final hurdle so we can actually develop and break ground. But in real, one of the big questions it sounds like is this how Bogue Road is going to be built. To be clear, from across the frontage of our project, so that would be from Highway 99 to approximately Columbia.
Okay.
We are going to have 5 lanes. That consists of 2 lanes going eastbound and 2 lanes going westbound and a center turn pocket. And we are actually bringing the right-of-way to the south onto our property and giving more right-of-way to accommodate that. The question that, some people between Columbia and Railroad, which is that portion that's in this county,
Right.
there is 60 foot of right-of-way. There's actually more right-of-way available west of there, but from Columbia to Railroad, that's where it's only going to be 4 lanes, which is two eastbound, 1 westbound, and a continuous turn pocket. So all the neighbors will have a safe place to sit while they pull into their driveway, or when they pull out, they have a place before they merge in. So that's the situation. But across the frontage of our project, it will be 5 lanes, curb gutter sidewalk on both sides. On that section from Columbia to Railroad, it will be just sidewalk on the south side. And that's so you don't have to go acquire right away from property owners. You can do it all within that 60 feet. So
Okay.
there's other options, of course. You could get 5 lanes, but no sidewalk. But that's up to you. What's more important? But working with the city, the sidewalk is a very important component, and so that was in that section. So.
Okay.
But if while I'm up here, are there any other questions about some of the deal points in the DA or anything else? I could try to answer
Any
those.
more? Anybody else?
Do we have a cross-section map of what's being proposed for the improvements? Because that would have been super helpful from a visual
Well, if you have
impact.
the original tentative map, there was an actual section, and I didn't bring that
Nothing tonight, though? Okay, thank you.
But there is, if you go look in the Bogue Stewart master plan, it has all the road sections.
Perfect.
And that's what we'll be building across our frontage.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Wait, go to the, hold on.
Sir.
You want to go ahead, Mr. Smith, do you want to say something?
I can come back up after.
Okay,
I hear
that'd be
everybody
great.
else speak, so.
But
Widen Stewart Road.
we need to have you on the mic, sir, because we have to have it picked up. Sorry.
I'm asking him.
And he will answer your question.
Are there plans to widen Stewart Road?
There you go. Oh, well, it's good to get the questions answered.
Yes, not with this project, but per the Bogue Stewart master plan, there's details and as development occurs that it will get there. But with this project, we're focused on the Bogue Road area from 99 to Railroad. And then as Newcomb builds out, it ultimately ties on to Stewart Road, where then Stewart Road will be widened at that area.
Okay.
But will it be widened all the way to the school? With Newcomb, no, but as development occurs east and west, then they pick up portions of that development, of that
Okay.
widening. Yeah, I mean, that's where Newcomb responsible for their frontage, so when they get down to that phase, they will have to build that frontage on Stewart, and then as other development occurs.
And just to clarify, so with a lot of development, it goes in phases, so they're trigger points. So just because, say, because it depends on the economy and the market, if they build 100 homes, that might not trigger the entire improvement and so forth. Or say they build 10 homes and they're no longer able to continue. So their triggers set at certain points. It's not necessarily just at the start of the project, 'cause that's just not feasible.
Okay. Go ahead. I want every bit of this public comment.
Public comment.
Thank you.
Question, the existing right-of-way is 60 feet?
Up here. Just stay up there, Ben, it'd be easier.
Through the section east of Columbia to Railroad.
60
Okay,
feet.
I should have clarified that. Between Highway 99 and Railroad on Bogue Road, what is it right-of-way with?
It varies, but with with Newcomb being on the south, they will then dedicate that right-of-way width necessary to build out the complete roadway per the master plan, which is 5 lanes, curb, gutter, and sidewalk. And so
As
right
it
now,
builds.
right now it varies. It bumps up here and there along the north side of Bogue Road, but ultimately it will be dedicated. And it changes a little bit based on if it's commercial frontage versus if it's attached sidewalk or not. And so it changes a little bit, but ultimately we built out per the master plan with those cross sections to have that road and that sidewalk.
Okay, and just looking at the lane widths, if it's gonna be 5 lanes going from 99 all the way to Railroad, the standard lane width is 12 feet. So now you have 2 lanes in each direction, that's 48 feet. A left turn lane is another 12 feet, so that's 60 feet. And then you add shoulders. On this type of facility, I'm assuming the shoulders are probably 4 feet or 6 feet. So that's another 8 or 12 feet. You add sidewalks, a standard sidewalk is 4 feet. You have sidewalks on both sides, so that's gonna be another 8 feet. It just doesn't seem like you have enough width here in the existing right-of-way. And these are all current standards. You go to the Complete Streets Guide, you go to all the design manuals that are out there. Those are the standards that are out there. So I'm just wondering how everything's gonna fit there.
I believe the project is going to dedicate some of their existing land to the right-of-way to
Yeah,
accommodate for that space.
yeah, Ben will answer that for us, yeah.
So it's good discussion point.
Yeah.
And so if you go to Caltrans manual and you're building highways, they're going to tell you a minimum lane width. When you're in the city of Yuba City, we have some flexibility. There's a minimum of 10-foot lane width up until as big as we want to make it. And we're really, ideally, a 12-foot is great, but there's also a lot of talk out there about how we don't want 12-foot because it just increases traffic speeds. And so with this, you have to make compromises to fit. You know, we have existing right-of-way, we have existing utility poles, and in order to fit within those existing residential properties and right-of-ways, we have to make some sacrifices. So ideally, I'd have 6-foot sidewalks, parkway strips, bike lanes, I'd have the whole works. But in order to prioritize and what we could fit, what we've landed on is a sidewalk on the south, that's 5 foot, and then 4 lanes, so 2 eastbound, 1 middle, 1 westbound that are 11 foot wide. And so are they 12 foot? No, but that's what fits within that area. And and we have policy that the city, we can make that work.
Okay. Okay. Did you have go ahead, sir.
You know, it's a good point. Westbound with us going to the 1 lane westbound, which is currently east of 99, it will be a little bit wider because we have a little bit of area on that north side to play with.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
John Teague, 999 Stewart Road. I have the property that is immediately adjacent to this new development. So I have some questions regarding that. I noticed in the new agreement, they said that there's going to be, let me get the right language here, an increase in number of residential lots. What is that specifically? And more specifically, right next to me, I was told at one time that those lots, the residential lots that are immediately adjacent to my property would be single dwelling, single story. And so I have a question about that. Is that going to remain single story, single dwelling lots? So let me get through my questions, or unless you just want to answer them one at a time, I'm good with that too. Okay. So there's a question about that. The other one, which has always been a big concern of mine, is drainage. And I've asked this question of the city, and I've talked to Sean before about it. Never gotten the real details on how this is all going to happen. But the response back from the city when I asked it was that drainage was going to proceed from the west, or proceed to the west. And there was a misunderstanding, I think, that I had said in my initial letters that my whole property drains from east to west towards the highway. All of us do on that side of the road. The road is higher than our property, so we're kind of dammed at the road, and then it drains across our property. I'm at the end of all that drainage, and my property drains to the orchard, which is now going to be the back of these houses. And my question has always been, with the 3-foot addition in elevation to the lots, that you built a dam, and I'm gonna be flooded. I've got video of what it looks like in some of the big storms we had in '20, showing all the drainage going to the west. I've talked to Sean about it a little bit, and then also to Ben. But I haven't got really a definitive answer how this is going to be handled. So I'd like to get that ironed out to make sure that the drainage is going to continue. My historical drainage is going to be able to continue. That's the question. And I noticed in I already asked the question about the additional homes. Trying to get information on this project, it's kind of a surprise. You know, it dies off for a long time, you know, and it's true that it started in about, well, it might have started for 13 to 14 for you guys, but for about 2019 for me. And then it pops up again. You know, it's dead, it pops up again. And I found out about it, I got a notification in the mail, and I'm trying to get information about it. It's difficult. But there's a lot of things that happened without being notified. One of my concerns is that, at least now the city is notifying me, when we get to this other process, can I continue, please?
You can finish what you're working on now.
Thank you. So when we get to this other process where it's going to be handled at a local planning commission level, how does the public going to get information? How's the public going to know what's going on? I mean, there's been some questions about this already, and I don't think that we've asked for things that aren't out of the realm to be fixed now at this stage of the game, so that everybody, you know, has a benefit instead of somebody getting what we feel like getting run over. I'd hope not, but I think some of us do feel that way. So there's that question. And my last comment, you made the comment that this plan right now, or this document, is actually in draft and there's several errors to it. And I ponder the fact that you should be sending it to the city council with all these errors and it not going back through this process. That's my last comment.
Okay. Doug, did you get all that? Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, Sean.
Again, Sean Menard with MHM. I can try to answer a couple of them. Right now, the tentative map and what this DA does, there's no changes physically at any way to the way as originally approved. So the key thing, I've talked to him numerous times about the drainage, and in that tentative map that we talked about, as Doug indicated, it'll come back to the Planning Commission for that item. And about the number of lots that'll increase, I don't know the number right now, but it'll be presented, and anybody within, 500 feet? Will be noticed, 300 feet, whatever the criteria will, and then he'll have the opportunity to speak. But the drainage, there will be drainage improvements as any subdivision required, and through the design process, we'll make sure we accommodate the water wherever it goes. And on his property, it should be pretty easy to address that drainage. But again, there'll be another opportunity once we submit that south tentative map amendment at a later date. But right now, we're not changing anything. The substantial conformance doesn't change anything down in that area. So, what was the other there?
Are you going to be single-story houses adjacent to me, or are you going to go to two-story houses?
Oh, yeah, the single story and two stories.
The conditions of the original map had that requirement, and again, nothing's changed. This DA doesn't change any of the restrictions on two-story, single-story, any of that. What was in the original map will remain. Now, if we present a new map, obviously that'll be an opportunity to condition it again, and we assume it'll be just like you did on that map earlier tonight. Mm-hmm. You'll have a policy to put no two-story or two-story with the windows that, no up 6 feet. It'll be the same kind of criteria. So we expect that, and we understand that, and we don't expect you to change that criteria. So, but if that can answer those questions, I can let Doug talk about the other items.
I don't think you've answered my question.
Well, Doug's gonna try to answer some of them too for you.
Because I don't remember seeing in the original document, single-story or two-story.
Well, then it's not a requirement. I don't know.
It says R1,
Yeah.
and then.
Again, we need to, if you're
Yeah,
going to
go
speak
to the mic. I'm
publicly,
sorry.
we need you at the microphone.
Because of the tape. So let's let Doug try to answer some of those questions too.
Okay, so in the map, in the draft development agreement, We didn't say there were errors. We said that the main bullet points are going to remain. However, we're working with the city attorney to fine-tune things that are of concern to the city, and that's not unusual for agreements to be modified between the Planning Commission and City Council. But if there's substantial changes, then yes, it would need to come back to the Planning Commission. But the deal points that we're presenting to you this evening aren't going to change. Okay, so with regard to the new map, Sean kind of touched on it. Just for everyone's benefit, we're talking about a new map covering this area. And it's a south part of the Newcomb area. And we anticipate in the future receiving an application. And it's going to propose a certain number of additional lots. It will go through a whole new review process. And so city departments will get a chance to review that. The public will be provided notice of that. And then we would ultimately come to your planning commission for a new public hearing on what they are proposing. Now, I anticipate that whatever's proposed is going to be consistent with the densities that were already contemplated in the Bogue Stewart Master Plan, and consistent with what was, or substantially consistent with what was analyzed in the EIR. But with regard to drainage, it's not, what typically happens is after a subdivision map is approved, it'll, as Sean said, go through the design stage. All of these lots that are proposed, drainage has to be collected within the subdivision and is going to will be undergrounded ultimately to this pond. And you'll notice from my comments, the initial pond is only going to be designed to handle the north part of the plan. So whenever or before the south part of the plan gets going, they're going to need to be able to accommodate the drainage. So that drainage pond will then need to be expanded. And it's designed to be kind of modular and can be expanded as needed. And then that urban runoff collected there would then be carried off ultimately to the Gilsizer Slough. So it's not to impact neighboring properties. Now, with regard to Sean touched on the single story versus two story, it's not an ordinance requirement, but it is, I'll just say, tradition to implement that requirement, and I don't see why we wouldn't include it on a future subdivision.
I will say that we've done that on other subdivisions. We've voiced that. So this is just a start of a process. It's going to be coming back and coming back. You'll all be notified. You can come back and we can talk. But that's exactly it. It's we're very tentative right now. Mr. Campbell, did you have a question?
Yeah, Doug, I'd like some clarification on something you said about the design element of the subdivision, specifically when it comes to drainage. You said that the drainage within the subdivision would be addressed. Looking from this gentleman's perspective, he will not be a part of that subdivision. So how is the drainage impact on his property going to be addressed in the drainage for the subdivision, as you stated? Because the way it was stated, the way I could interpret it, was we're going to deal with the drainage in the subdivision, and any adjacent property owners are not going to be included. So I'd like you to address that and assuage any concerns about how that drainage plan addresses the impact of the project in the area.
Yeah, it sounds like the, Ben, did you?
Yeah, I could bounce in real quick just on it. And so, high level. So what he's telling everybody is that his property drains on other people's property, right? And so he's concerned that he keeps this historical drainage across somebody else's property, which, that's a whole nother issue. But what we typically do is what Sean says, when these improvements in the design comes through, we look at that to try to minimize those impacts. And this one is relatively easy because they're going to widen Stewart Road. So when they build that south half, they're going to put curb gutter and sidewalk on the north side of Stewart Road, and it's going to end at that property. And so what we do is put a filled inlet, or we grade it to drain into that curb and gutter, which then picks up that road, that flow on that road and some of that drainage that then goes into the new storm system with the subdivision that would then ultimately be pulled in. And so that's how we typically pick those up where we're going from new to that adjacent. We usually try to degrade to that curb and gutter or put a field inlet to pick up that existing drainage.
You can go.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
You say you're gonna widen Stewart Road on the north side. That's where the telephone poles are. They're right on the edge of the road. How are you gonna do that? Excuse me.
Did you hear that, Ben?
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Smith.
North side of Stewart Road is where the telephone poles are. What are you gonna do about that?
So he's talking about the north side of the road with telephone poles. Honestly, I don't know yet. It really, that's when this is really.
That's when
the
you get into
layout,
the project,
density. This
yeah.
is when we get into the design and how we work it. And so you relocate them, the options are you underground, you relocate, you move them, you move the facilities to work around what can't not be. But that's typically how we handle those. Sean had a great point too. I just want to be clear. With some of the recent work through Sabufka, the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency, the remapping of our basin, the flood depth is not as high as originally when this first came through. And so you're not looking at elevation pads as high as that original 3 foot. And so there's probably going to be more typical.
Okay. All right. I am going to close the public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want? Well, I didn't see you get up. I'll open it back up. Go ahead. I want everybody to have their say.
James Kasner, 950 Los Bravos Drive, Yuba City. I had a couple questions. First, if I go over things that's already been covered, I apologize. I was not here in this country when they started cramming this down our throat. I was serving in Iraq and Afghanistan and come home to find out that I've lost my home to the city. So if I cover things that have already been covered, please forgive me. But I do have a question. On the EIR report, ever since I got back, it's been crammed down my throat that we don't have any water. Our groundwater's being depleted, everything's going away, and they're telling us to quit using water. Where are you gonna get all the water for all of those houses? Is that covered in the EIR?
Good question, and Ben's going to answer that. Yeah, or whoever.
So I'll
Tag
try to start us off, and then maybe Ben will
Yeah.
finish us off. Okay, so when you have a big development project, state law requires that when you have a project over 500 lots, and it's actually pursuant to SB 610, dates clear back to 2001, and it requires that developers prepare a water supply assessment for their projects, and that has to be included in the environmental documentation. So one was prepared for Bogue Stewart master plan. It did identify that in single and multiple dry years, as part of the build-out scenario between 2030 and 2040 timeframe, based upon the project kind of anticipated getting going before now, we're still kind of not on the way yet. We're trying to get there. But it was anticipated we're going to have a lot more build out. And it was saying that in those single and dry years that there was going to be a water deficit. So that was, I acknowledged in the water supply assessment. Hold on here. There was a mitigation measure that was put in place for the project. And that is mitigation measure 3.15-1. And it does talk about the city establishing new groundwater wells to be operable and sufficient to serve the water demands. You might remember, I think it was in 23, the city did establish a new groundwater well. The city has to renew agreements with its surface water providers, and it can do that to accommodate the water. And so based upon where we are today, we have sufficient water supply to serve the project. And Ben, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Doug really hit a lot of it, but I just, the takeaway, I guess, high level is this project, it triggered a full review at that time, as far as the water, the build out of the city, looking at multiple dry year scenarios, the ultimate build out of the city and where this put it, because we added area into the city's sphere of influence. With that, I'm gonna tell you, we're fine. As a water provider, where I'm in what gives me assurance with that is that we've just built this new, we just came off a drought, a severe drought in Yuba City. We just put in a new second groundwater well that adds about 10% capacity. We just received $10.5 million for another ASR, which is another groundwater well where we take off-peak time and put it, inject it into the ground, and then we pull it off. And then really what on top of that is the world has changed since this report has been done, is that the state is really pushing drought tolerant everything. And so we're going from 80 gallons per person assumptions that were in this report to a new standard of 38 gallons, almost half. And so, so these houses that will be built are going to have drought tolerant landscape, and they're going to be a real push from the state that the water use is almost half of what was projected on this report. And that report really, it showed the deficit in multiple dry years at city full build out with assumptions that were conservative at that time. And so I have total confidence at the city that we're building at 30 houses per year. You know, hopefully this picks it up when we get going, but there's capacity in the city system. We have contracts in place with the state water contractors, with the North Yuba Water District, that the city has capacity for this project.
Okay.
I'd be happy to get into weeds on any of that.
Okay, and did you have another question?
And then just to bring this up is, what we're looking at today is modifying an agreement that's already been approved. And the housing and the subdivisions that have been approved.
I know, and I wanted to get to that. I mean, you can finish up your comment, but remember what we're here for.
So in other words, shut up and sit down.
Nope, not at all.
It's already decided.
Nope.
The state says we're running out of groundwater. Where are you getting your stats? They come down here and tell us we're groundwater. They won't even let the farmers have groundwater, and yet you're going to, and plants aren't the only thing that use water. It's the people that use more water, the houses and everything else. That's fine. That's what I want to know. We've just gone through that. You just admitted. We've gone through where they were taking water away from everybody, our farmers and everything else and stuff. That was the question. Okay, I'm done. I've been told about that. Do we have a timeline on the traffic? I have watched this many times through the years. You build a project, you build the houses, you leave the roads the way they are until, what? They get enough people in there or whatever. We are going to be living with that traffic till you do it. Now, go down and sit at Bogan Railroad between 7 and 9 and between 1 and 4. Okay? And even after that into 5 o'clock and everything else and stuff. How long are those roads going to be the way they are once you've put in 600-700 people in one tract? That's not counting the Newcomb tract too. And how long is it going to be before that goes out and you do something with Stewart Road? That's my, we live there. You don't live there. You probably never will. We live there. We're dealing with the traffic now. I live on Los Bravos, south of Bogue Road. And because of the traffic at the school and stuff, and the trucks now going using railroad and everything else, same thing. Who was it said they had set for 15 minutes to get out? Yeah, several hundred more cars in there. That's my question. What's the timeline? How long are we going to be living with this extra traffic in that narrow section there?
I don't know. I don't think we can answer that right at the moment. Ben, I mean,
and this is what I want to be clear about here. This is one of the projects that the city is building the road first. And so what we have before you are deal points where the city is basically taking $13 million and partnering with approximately $11.5 million with developer money to build that infrastructure first. And so what you're going to see is a design that's occurring over the next 6 to 7 months. Then you're going to see building construction maybe start as early as late fall or as late summer, fall of 24, most likely 25, where you start seeing that infrastructure work start to go in. And that's going to take up to a year, 2 years to build that out.
There you
And then you're gonna see the housing, developments and the commercial then come thereafter, because they can't come until that infrastructure is in this situation, as why the city's partnering up for this dual use. And so
Right.
really, that's the takeaway for this is we are building it first.
Okay. All right.
For building the road first?
Yes, that's just what he just said. The infrastructure is going to go in.
I wanted to make sure that's what he was saying.
Okay. Any more public comment? All right. We got to move forward. All right. Any more commissioners? Okay.
I do have something. So I am slightly concerned that with the sheer amount of changes and items that are still up for negotiation, I know you're saying they aren't the key points, but we're making a recommendation on a development agreement that isn't complete. How does that affect our recommendation to City Council? I don't have issues with the actual changes within the current development agreement, but I don't know if those changes are going to remain by the time it gets to City Council.
So we've been in a lot of discussions with the city attorney's office about that. And per the city attorney's recommendation, we were to review those items that we're looking at making these final changes to. But it would be okay for the development agreement to proceed to City Council.
Right.
But aren't some of the items regarding bonds or city liability or easements, aren't those important items? Because if they weren't, you guys wouldn't still be working on them.
Correct. And so it's more of, sometimes it can be the timing of when those securities and then what type of security it takes the form of. So yeah, we are looking at fine tuning those items before it gets presented to council. But per the city attorney's recommendation, we are okay to proceed as long as we discuss with you the changes that we're looking at making.
So if we were to make a recommendation, would we have to say contingent upon the items that were discussed being modified and nothing else?
No, you actually don't need to make that. We've disclosed it through this public process of which items are going to be considered for amendment going forward.
So if there were other items that you guys discuss and change afterwards, would that then come back to the Planning Commission? Or would our recommendations still stand?
Depending on the nature of the change, yes.
Good. All right. Everybody has to have their, good? Okay. All right. So I need a motion. If anybody wants to take that on. If you can find it.
I motion to adopt a resolution of the Yuba City Planning Commission recommending to the City Council that it determine the environmental impacts, if any, resulting from the First Amendment to the Newcomb Ranch Development Agreement were fully assessed in the EIR, certified by the City Council on December 17, 2019, and that no additional environmental review is necessary, and that it approve an uncodified ordinance for the First Amendment to the Newcomb Ranch Development Agreement by and between the City of Yuba City and Newcomb Ranch LLC, Hust Brothers, Inc., and Cal Sierra LP, located within a portion of the Bogue Stewart Master Plan area.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Commissioner Knorr?
Yes.
Commissioner Sandu?
Yes.
Commissioner Gill?
No.
Commissioner Campbell?
Yes.
Chairperson Tillman?
Yes. And there'll be a lot more discussion on it, so we hope to see you back. I know, but there'll be a lot more discussion. Okay, well, that's what we want to hear. You got to keep doing that.
That's the good thing. We send out the notices when these come.
Well, we'll make sure that happens, we promise. I know.
I've heard about this thing happening for quite some time.
I know. We'll make sure that you get the notices. Thank you. Well, we'll keep doing that. Okay. Thank you. Oh, I will keep sending you notices. All right, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kasner. Lacey's smiling on the way out. He doesn't hate us. All right, moving on.
Yes, we need to retrieve Commissioner.
Oh, yes, please. He had to miss out on all the fun? That's not right. Somebody owes. All right, got through that. Future agenda, oh, I guess we should wait. Hey! Took a nap, okay. Future agenda items. Mr.
Okay,
Libby?
so next month, we're looking at possibly bringing forward to you a small subdivision map, just like 5 lots, so pretty simple. And then we're also looking forward, there's a long-time subdivision called Sutter Heritage. And it's unbuilt out, and we have new people involved, and they're looking at wanting to tune up the development agreement to hopefully make the project so it can build out. And so we are looking next month to hopefully bring that amendment to you for consideration. And that,
Okay, that's it.
thank you.
All right, Ben Moody, Development Services Report.
All right, I don't have a lot for you. So I guess a couple big things that are happening with staff is next Tuesday, we're gonna meet with city council, talk goal setting. So it's gonna be goal setting for the year. And there's probably gonna be a lot of discussion about the revenue measure and how that affects roads and public safety. Terrabuena workshop. So it has been, the agenda has been set. So for the traffic, Terrabuena workshop associated with the Hinson Apartments, that's kind of triggered that. It's set for February 8th. I think the flyer is out, 6 p.m. at River Valley Library, River Valley High School Library. We're looking for a spring possible joint session with City Council. There's some talk in the past about keeping the communication open, and then also having a check-in and priorities discussion with the council and with the planning commission. We'll probably set that up so it'll be maybe an hour before, we're trying to combine it so we could roll into the planning commission meeting. And so,
Hey, Ben, I do have some new information came in right before the start of the meeting.
Great, what do you got?
Okay, so the city manager's office coordinating with city council, they're looking at March 13th as a joint study session with city council. So we can send out a meeting invite to get it on your calendars, but that just came in literally right before I came over for the meeting.
There's been some discussion about annual training. Historically, recently we've been going to the planning commissioners, convention, I guess I would say. The feeling from staff and some discussions was that the takeaways from that, maybe it's an every other year type of thing. And so what we didn't sign up for it this year, with that anticipation that we'll reach out to the commission next year as to who desires to attend. But also, we're thinking maybe a focused training where we coordinate with a consultant that maybe talks about zoning code or general plan land use, or with our attorney that we were gonna plan to set up in the next few months or for the spring. And so if there's any interest in specific items, please let Doug or me know, and we'll try to focus that for the training for the group. That's kind of the plan. And so, and definitely any questions that come up, always staff's available to help answer that and walk through that. But that's what we're kind of looking at for training for this year. I think that's what I got. Any questions for me?
Anybody? I definitely think we need, like tonight, here's a perfect example. We were voting on one item, a specific, and it's very, a lot of times the public just doesn't understand that piece of it. So maybe even coming forward, a little summary. Look, this is what we're focused on. I think it gets really confusing. Again, we could sit up here all day. They're not gonna understand why we voted the way we did, because we have to be specific of what the general plan is. And, this has been in the works since 2013. Nothing's changed. So I don't know if that would help the commissioners, yeah? that, or something to, because I don't want us addressing the public. That's not our role, but I don't know if your thoughts on that. So maybe a 101 on certain things that we can move forward with. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think we would have been
I
out of
mean-
here earlier if we would have,
Maybe we could have a run, yeah, we could game plan a little bit as far as.
does it make sense? Yeah.
Running an efficient meeting, maybe it's with our staff, maybe we push a little harder on our purpose when the item's up. I don't know if they still understand or not.
No, it's all
Yeah,
about traffic for
it's
them,
all-
and I get it, but you can't fix that right away, right? You can't be having public meetings every single time you want to do a subdivision because of the traffic, when you're
that's-
following the rules, so.
And especially where we've had an EIR.
Right.
We've had comment periods, we've had public hearings over and over again. And that's kind of where, hey, that traffic has been analyzed, and this is
Right.
what we're doing to address it.
Yeah, so you can give us some verbiage that we can use, especially as a chair, I could use. So anyway, that would help, maybe, I don't know. Okay, Yuba City Planning, let's see, you went over to Sutter County. And anything to report, or you're going to report?
No, we haven't had any meetings for quite some time, so nothing to report.
Sorry, I could have said that as well.
Oh, okay. All right, Ashley, anything? Did we ever get to see your report? I don't think we did, because it was so late, or maybe I missed a meeting, I don't know.
I don't know what report you're mentioning, but I am going to be presenting to council in March. You guys are invited.
Okay.
If you would like.
We won't be there, but thanks for inviting us.
I'm going to be doing quarterly updates to council on things that are going on, so maybe I can do like a very quick one at Planning Commission as well.
Yeah, because you know my bedtime, and
Yeah.
we've made it tonight. So.
Exactly.
Hey, I appreciate all of you guys, and thank you for getting us through that. And way to go, Lonza. It's always your project. Thank you.